d.krauss here, and the book today is actually 3 books. N.K. Jemison's The Inheritance Trilogy. Now, when you follow something extraordinary with something even more extraordinary, then that first extraordinary thing gets short shrift. It's like the Patriots winning their 6th Super Bowl. You kind of forget about the first. And I shrifted this trilogy by N.K. Jemison because I had heard so much about the Broken Earth series that I started with that one. And it blew me away. It did. I says to myself, self, this Jemison can sling some words. So let's see what else she's done. That's when I picked up the first book of this series called The 100,000 Kingdoms and read it all the way through and read the entire trilogy, and I'll tell you, it's good. It's more than good. It's outstanding. The Inheritance Trilogy is 180 degrees from the Broken Earth. First, it's fantasy, not sci-fi, not even science fantasy, but sword-slinging wizardry. Even though there's very little sword-slinging, and the wizardry is limited to those humans who can speak and write God language and or ingest God's blood. And of course, wizardry by the gods themselves. But what fools these gods be. Mortals can entrap and enslave them, a result of the gods' war from which all human existence sprang. Not just pray to them and seek favor and compel them with sacrifices and incantations, but slap chains around their necks and tell them what to do. And not your run-of-the-mill gods either, like Persephone or Pan. Real gods, like Zeus or Minerva, or even God himself. And what cheek these mortals display. The 100,000 Kingdoms introduces you to this God-enslaved world ruled by the Arameri, the most powerful family of the Amen, the master nation lording it over the 100,000 or so, or less, other kingdoms, both tiny and vast. Because the Arameri have god weapons, like Nahadath, god of dark and chaos, and his son Saya, the trickster god, and sons and daughters and cousins and whatnots of all the other gods, which the Amen unleash on recalcitrant nations, like the Dar, a tribe of female warriors whose leader, 20-year-old Yenny, is actually the granddaughter of the current ruler of the Arameri, and is therefore in line for the throne, which is acquired when all but one of the prospective heirs kill each other. Charming. The Amen gained ascendancy when they made a deal with the Sky Father during the Gods' War between Nahadath and his brother Bright Tempus, the god of light and order, also known as the Sky Father, over their sister, who is also their lover, Enetha. Gods, what do you expect? And this war was fought among and against the various godlings and lesser gods sprung from the various unions between Nahadath and Tempus and their sister Enetha. The bloody fallout from the war pretty much wiped out the universe, and leaving humans about the only intact life form, hence the deal. I think. The mythology is a little dense and a little confusing, as it should be. Oh, have I mentioned the maelstrom? Okay. Bit of a complicated world. Said complications tripling and confusing even more in the next novel of the series, The Broken Kingdom. Jemison likes that word broken. Which is set about a decade later with none of the characters of the first novel in attendance. Well, that's not entirely true. They're there, but in a different form or name. And in a greatly altered sky. Not the sky, but Sky, the Arameri capital, which is set about a mile in the air. Sky has been taken over by Igrizzle or some other world tree thing, and Ori, a blind girl who can see magic, lives there, and she sees a bright, shiny homeless man and takes him in, and well, He's not exactly a man, and Ori is not exactly a girl. Shenanigans ensue, including the return of Nahadeth and Seiya, and a host of previously unseen gods and godlings wreaking havoc alongside a crazy cult of magic and god worshippers intent on establishing a new world order. Did I mention that Yenny has evolved? No? Okay. Which brings us to the concluding novel, The Kingdom of Gods, which focuses on Seiya, the trickster, the god of childhood, who makes a pact with two Arameri heirs and ends up losing his immortality and magic. Just your average mortal now, except he is hundreds of thousands of years old and knows God's language, so he has magical ability, and he has the god's blood, which gives magical ability, and he's got a murderous little son, S-U-N, in his pocket. A child of Seiya's unleashes a horrific magic in the world in an attempt to destroy the Arameri and exact revenge on Seiya and apparently the rest of the universe, drawing the maelstrom into a headlong attack on existence itself. Nothing like the unbinding of all of matter as an issue to be resolved, is there? Now, as you see, I have the huge consolidated edition, and there's a follow-on novella in it called The Awakened Kingdom, which is a bit too YA for my taste. Read it if you want, because it's obviously a setup for future stories, but I could have done without it. Jemison's gods and godlings and godlets and all the other things look like the Norse pantheon, from the All-Father to the little squeakers pitching fairy dust about. They're household gods, a lot of them, with a limited provenance. But some of them are delightful. Madding, the god of obligations and Ori's lover. Dump, the god of discards. That's great. Nemr, the goddess of secrets. Nice to know that every aspect has its divinity. So, who is the god of sold books? And how do I appease him, her, it? Which are the three genders, by the way. Do I have some nits? Yes, I have some. Sometimes Jemison doesn't know when to quit. Several scenarios and scenes went on a bit too long, such as the side issue of a Dar revolt by the enslaved males that may or may not have contributed to the story arc. You decide. Better if she had spent more time on the Gods' War and the Demon War, both events critical to the universe she's built. What else you get for Christmas, bud? And both left somewhat obscure. I guess that's the nature of religion. You never really get all the answers. Which is how damn good fantasy should leave you. Wanting answers, wanting more. Not sure if there's going to be any more. I don't spend a lot of time reading blogs or pages trying to figure out what authors and others are going to do, because I prefer to be pleasantly surprised when walking by some shelves and spotting a new Jemison novel set in Seiya's universe, or in the stillness, or any other kingdom she chooses to create. Because I know whatever she does, it's going to be another Super Bowl win. D.krauss here. See you later.